True story that took place in 2020. Me and my family went on a trip to Colorado Springs. I can't remember exactly where we went in Colorado Springs, but I do know we went to a desert on a little vacation activity. The desert wasn't as hot as I thought it would be. Surprisingly, I could probably survive out there for a few days if I had to. It was quite a long drive. I was about 9 years old at the time, so I was in the seat just sleeping. At one point, my parents woke me up, and to my surprise, there was a desert outside. I asked my mother why we were here, and she said that we were going to look at dinosaur fossilized tracks. I didn't want to complain. We walked into the path leading to a bridge made of sand. My grandfather was teasing me about rattlesnakes, saying that they'll jump and fly at me. That's when I started to get worried. At that point, we were walking across this bridge made of sand. It was about 25 to 20 feet tall. I was walking close behind my family when I paused in my tracks to look at the view. Eventually, I began to look down, and in horror, I saw this 7-foot-tall humanoid creature. Its skin was as pale as the sand. It seemed as if it was trying to blend into its surroundings. It had a hunched back. It also looked like it hadn't eaten in days. I could see its spine poking out. It walked slowly and quietly. It didn't even seem to notice us. It looked as if it was being drawn to something. I stood there watching it slowly walk 1 foot at a time. My eyes were wide, and what I saw really woke me up. I turned to see that my family were already almost at the end of the bridge. I ran over to catch up. Throughout the whole time, I couldn't stop thinking about what I saw. Of course, I was a child at the time, so I didn't really know how to react, or if I should even tell anyone. I tried to keep my mind on the dinosaur fossils, and I bet my parents were curious as to why I wasn't so fascinated by science. They knew I usually loved science, and anything rocks or fossil. I couldn't even enjoy this, because I was too focused on my sighting and trying to process what to do next. I was born with slow processing, so of course, at such a young age, you wouldn't really expect someone to see something strange like that. Now I'm older, and I've now figured out it was probably some kind of mythical creature. And from this day on, I'll never forget that incident. Allow me to describe the creature a bit more. As I said, it was 7 feet tall. It had this hunched back with its spine poking out. It didn't have long quills, but it did have long arms that almost touched the ground with long, scary claws. Its back legs were somewhat like a human, and somewhat like a dog too at the same time. Its skin color was as pale as the sand, but a little whiter. It walked at a good speed, swinging its arms in the opposite direction of its legs, just like how a person would walk. It had straight up direct attention of where it was going, and didn't even bother to look over at us. I don't think it had ears, which was the strange part. I couldn't really see its face, so I didn't know if it had a nose or not, or what its eyes even looked like. As a side note, I was trying to think of an explanation for what I saw, and was hoping that my mind was simply playing tricks on me. I was thinking that I probably got too much sun, but I realized that we literally just got out of the car, and it would take a while for the sun to get to me. Plus, the sun usually never got to me, never even got a sunburn before. And my mind was thinking the same way if you were seeing an animal for the first time in the wild. So readers or listeners, if you have any ideas to what I saw, please tell me, and I'll look into it to see if it's a perfect match.
Not long ago, maybe 1 or 2 months ago, I went through something strange. I sleep in the family living room because there's no TV in my bedroom, and I love watching TV until I fall asleep. I lay out a mattress in front of the TV every night. One night, around 12:30 a.m., I hadn't fallen asleep yet. The TV was still playing, and I was chatting with my boyfriend while scrolling on TikTok. From where I sleep, I face my mother's bedroom, but I can't see her bed or her directly. Just the wardrobe facing me, the TV cabinet, and the wall-mounted TV on the left. On the right, I can only see a small part of my parents' bed. That night, I was still giggling while texting my boyfriend. The last thing I heard was my mom's voice as she video called my dad. Not long after that, I heard what sounded like my mom crying. I'm the type of daughter who gets too embarrassed to ask my parents what's wrong or what's going on. So I just lay there, quietly, listening to the sound of crying. At first, I doubted what I was hearing.
Is she really crying? What did my dad do this time?
I wasn't sure if it was real. I turned the TV volume down and put my phone aside to focus on the sound. As I listened more closely, the crying became clearer. I started to believe that my mom was really crying. Feeling confused, I told my boyfriend right away. I messaged him.
Hey, I hear my mom crying. What should I do?
He insisted that I check on her. Still unsure, I replied,
Are you sure I should check? The crying sounds vague yet clear. I'm not really sure if she's crying or not.
but he kept insisting, so I decided to investigate. I got up from my mattress and walked to the bathroom, which is right beside my mom's bedroom. I didn't go into the bathroom, I just stood near the door to listen more closely. As I stood there, the crying sound became even more apparent. That's when I decided to check on my mom. When I finally looked at her, she was sound asleep. I could tell because she was snoring softly. A chill ran down my spine. What the hell? Was that crying sound all in my head? I went back to my mattress and texted my boyfriend.
My mom is asleep. She wasn't crying.
My boyfriend doesn't believe in ghosts, spirits, or anything supernatural. He replied,
Maybe you're sleepy and hearing things.
but I wasn't sleepy at all. I was wide awake, and I had been carefully listening to that crying sound for minutes. There's no way it was just my imagination. Oddly enough, once I returned to my mattress, the crying sound completely stopped. I didn't hear it again. Maybe my mom really was crying earlier, but stopped when I checked on her because she was embarrassed, I thought. I decided I would ask her about it in the morning. When morning came, I asked her directly, "Mom, were you crying last night?" She looked confused and said no. What? I was even more confused. My mom believes in spiritual things like I do, so I told her,
I heard you crying from your bedroom last night. I made sure I wasn't hearing things multiple times, and it sounded so real. But when I checked on you, you were already asleep. And after I went back to my mattress, the sound was gone.
My mom was just as shocked as I was. I asked her again to make sure she hadn't been crying. She assured me that if she'd been crying or had a problem with my dad, she would have told me. To this day, I'm still confused about what happened that night. That crying voice sounded so real. There's no way it was just my imagination.
Hi, my name is Emil, and this story happened to me when I was just a little kid. I'm 16 now, so this happened around 2014. Just for some context, I'm a Bosnian who lives in the Swedish city of Buras. I have dark brown hair and bright blue eyes. Okay, now on to the story. When I was 7 years old, my grandma used to watch me and my older brother while our parents were at work. We'd usually play with our toys, go to the playground, or watch a movie. And that's exactly what we did every day for the whole week my grandma was watching us. Every day, we would watch one movie before lunch. As we were flipping through our DVDs, we stumbled upon a movie we had only watched once before, The Cat in the Hat. The movie played as normal, and we actually loved it. As the week went by, we kept watching that exact same movie every day since we had gotten bored of the other movies we usually watched. The week had felt fun because of that movie, but little did I know that Friday night would become one of the scariest of my life. That night, I dreamt that I was in my apartment, except it wasn't an apartment. It was a clubhouse, and it belonged to the Cat in the Hat. I had a great time in the clubhouse, partying and eating chips. As I was having a good time, I got a bit thirsty and decided to go get a glass of water. When I went to the kitchen to quench my thirst, I found the Cat in the Hat sleeping on the kitchen floor. I got my water and was on my way back to the party when I made a huge mistake. I stepped on the cat's tail. As I realized what I had done, I saw the cat's face change. His eyes went from being kind and beady to human-shaped, but with the pupils of a real cat, and his smile turned into a long, sharp-toothed frown. Before I could blink, the cat lunged at me, but I managed to dodge him and run into the hall. As I was running for my life, I looked back to see if he was still chasing me, and he was. I ran into my parents' bedroom, where I realized I was cornered. For some reason, my parents had a can of beans in their room. In a desperate last attempt to survive, I grabbed one of the cans and threw it at the Cat in the Hat. His forehead, now cracked open, was leaking blood onto the floor. He stared at me, his eyes widening as he mouthed the words, "I'm coming for you." And just after hearing that, I opened my eyes. I was back in the bunk bed in my room, my brother peacefully sleeping on the bunk above me. The following week, I was extremely paranoid. I kept hearing rustling in the bushes, hissing sounds outside my window, and I even started seeing black and white figures around me. Except for the paranoia, my life went on as usual, until one day, the day that still sends shivers down my spine just thinking about it. I was walking to my other grandparents' apartment. Just as I entered the lobby, the elevator was coming up from the basement. The elevator door had a tall window down the middle of it, so you could see if the elevator was full or get help in case of an accident. As the elevator was going up, I locked eyes with something truly terrifying. On the other side of the elevator window stood the cat, this time without his famous striped hat. But that wasn't the only thing different. He was taller, standing at about 10 feet. He also had a huge grin stretching from ear to ear on his face. I was frozen in place, unable to scream. When the elevator passed the lobby, I bolted out of there and ran all the way back to my apartment. Everyone I told this story to either says I'm lying or that it was just my imagination. And to be honest, I don't blame them. Since the incident, I haven't seen the Cat in the Hat in real life or on TV, and I moved away a few years ago. Now, around 9 years later, I've started to believe everyone else, thinking it was all just my imagination. But yesterday, I started hearing a voice in my head saying, "The Cat in the Hat will make your brain go splat." I'm writing this to get an answer to one question. What was that thing I saw that day? It surely can't be the Cat in the Hat. So what was it? A monster? A demon? Or was it something much, much worse?